He represented the Raptors on the court from 1998 to 2006. Here he is, Alvin Williams.
Alvin, hold on. There's something wrong with my video right now. Give me 1 sec.
Sure.
I think that looks better. Don't you think? That looks a little better.
Much better, man. Much better. That's for my selfish reasons, though.
If I could, I would have framed this too, but.
Oh, wow, man.
I don't think the young Raptor fans know exactly how bad of a mofo you were. Because, you know, before Kyle Lowry, we had another dog from Philadelphia running the backcourt up north here in Toronto. So to start things off, I'm going to show you and the viewers a clip, and I want you to break it down for me.
Okay.
Woo! Jeez.
Yeah. One of my few lucky moves, I guess.
Look at that. That behind the back crossover. Oh. People consider Allen Iverson the king of the crossover, but you crossed that man up bad there. You made him dance.
Yeah, man. When you play so many games and you play against so many players, eventually you're going to get one of them bright spots. And, you know what I mean? But AI got he got me more times than I got him. Trust me.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, it was a good move, and AI, good sport, man. It's all love.
What would you say was more of your signature move, that behind-the-back crossover that I know you got from Tim Hardaway, or, you know, that yo-yo that you always do?
You know what? It became, I guess, a move like you see a lot of players do it. I mean, now especially, but you go hard one way, and you pull it back, you yank it back, whether it's right in front of you or between your legs. So that became one of my go-to moves. I couldn't use it probably today as much because I usually use that move for the setup for a mid-range shot. It's a three-point game now. So, yeah, but the other thing was playing a lot of times as a youngster, I was always criticized because I was kind of tall to be a point guard, and I used to dribble so high, like you alluded to, the yo-yo. So I dribbled the ball like high, and that was a no-no. So when I got against smaller players, I always had trouble. But that was one of the things that I was known for in Philadelphia growing up.
That's one of those moves that as a kid, I would always try because obviously, you know, kid growing up in Canada, you want to be like Vince Carter, but like you can't dunk at like that at that age. It's like there's no way. So when I see you bust out those like ankle breakers, I'm like, ooh, if I could do that on the court, people are gonna fear me. But you know, I can never pull it off with the precision that you had. So
well, thank you, man.
So I have to ask, did AI ever pass the ball to you on your AAU team?
We weren't on the same AAU team.
Oh, no?
The one time we were on the same team was a Nike camp.
Nike camp. My bad. Yeah.
American camp. But we never played together because we played in shifts. He played one shift, and then I was subbing for him and vice versa. And it's funny, he may not even remember me being on that team because he was pretty much one of the big men on campus at that time. But, you know, no, he didn't. No, to answer your question, no, he didn't pass me the ball. But to be fair, we weren't on the court at the same time.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Your dad had a vision for you growing up. What was it like going from public school in Mount Airy to a predominantly white private school at Germantown Academy? And how did that help you grow?
It helped me. It helped me tremendously. My neighborhood wasn't really diverse. It was all black. The school, you couldn't really tell much of the difference academically because you were so young, but you know, just the environment start changing, right? It was more situations that you can get into of violence. You can get into the drug thing, and my neighborhood start transitioning because where I grew up was more of a middle-class section of Philadelphia. People start migrating to my area, and the neighborhood, you just start seeing change a little bit. Then when I started going to high school, going to those Philadelphia public schools, you had to go through certain areas, certain demographics. You had to take public transportation that would put you in harm's way in certain situations. And my dad always had a vision for me doing something different. So that's how I ended up in Germantown Academy, private school in Fort Washington, right outside of Philly. It was so instrumental because it gave me an opportunity to be around different people, being around different cultures, being around different environment. And not only did it enhance me, it challenged me, which ultimately enhanced me become a better person.
What do the names John Arnett and John Chaney mean to you?
Man, John Arnett and John Chaney, these guys are, you know, everything growing up, you know, more so John Arnett was more hands-on. John Arnett was a guy who I've never seen shoot the ball, dribble a ball, pass the ball, anything. But his leadership and what he provided for us to stay off the streets, what he provided, the discipline. Once again, I came from a family that was heavy on discipline and had great leadership and had great camaraderie. I came from a great family. I come from a great family. And I didn't need the things that John Arnett was providing necessarily because of my upbringing. But what he did provide, once again, it enhanced me. It put me in a situation to become a better basketball player. And not only a better basketball player, even a better person. We would be in the bottom of the bottom in Philadelphia. It's the sketchiest gyms. And you would see everybody from Philadelphia come through there. And he led the show. He ran the show. He committed his time. He committed all his energy for nothing. No monetary gain or anything. It was all love and appreciation. So he meant everything to me. And John Chaney, on the other hand, it was more of a tricky situation because he was a college coach. So due to rules and regulations, there's only so many interactions you can have with Coach Chaney. But I went to his camps early on. He and a guy by the name of Sonny Hill, who's another big influencer in the city of Philadelphia with many players. He's the top of the food chain when it comes to, John Chaney and Sonny Hill and John Arnett, these guys. John Chaney was a heck of a leader, the man. He was on TV. Yeah. I was fortunate enough that he grew up with my parents and my parents' family, so I knew we had deep roots. So it hurt me when I chose Villanova over Temple, but he understood, and Coach Chaney is doing well now.
It's great that you grew up with such a close-knit family, but also mentors that keep you pushing you towards bigger goals. There's a quote that I live by, and it's, you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Mm-hmm. So it's good that the people that you spent the most time with were elevating you to be the best person that you could possibly be. So that's great.
They held us accountable, right?
Yeah.
So it was a different era back then, different time back then. Like when you walk out your house, you may have left the 4 set of eyes on you, but the whole block and the whole neighborhood also see you. So by the time you got home, the report would be, we saw Al doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing or whatever the case may be. So yeah, it was a different thing. And we had really, really good leaders. We had true older men that were taking responsibility for us as our coaches, as our mentors, as our recreation center. Like they're leaders. They did so much for us, man, at that time. And these guys weren't 20 years old. They were 40, 50-year-old men, right? So they've been through a lot. They had their own families. And everything that they gave back to us, it came right from a pure place. So that was a big advantage that all of us had coming out of Philadelphia at that time.
And one of the other instances of that too, your high school coach would give you the key to the gym, and then you just hoop out at midnight till 2 just to get shots up, right?
Yeah, Coach Finnerty, man. And he was a big part of me at Germantown Academy because I struggled at Germantown Academy, adjusting academically, socially, financially. It was something where we struggled with our tuition a lot. But my dad never let that be known. But, as you get older and you hear the conversations and stuff like that. So, but Coach Finnerty, once he got there, when I was in 9th grade, he just pretty much opened his arms to me, opened his arms to our basketball team. But more importantly, just being another figure walking around the hallways. He was someone that, I leaned on heavily for support, not just from a basketball coach, but just from comfort as well. He was my history teacher. We created a great bond. So I'm not sure where I would be if he didn't accept the job at Germantown Academy as the head basketball coach, because he did a heck of a lot for me, still does a heck of a lot for me. That was another blessing that crossed my way when he decided to come to GA.
It's always good to have a coach who, has your back completely and allows you with those opportunities to improve your game. I would imagine in that neighborhood of Mount Airy, if you were to try, going out at late
at homework, night. You did your homework, the area, the sector, okay.
Yeah.
I see. Nobody would know about Mount Airy if you're not from Philly, but go ahead. Yeah, I see.
Yeah. So I'd imagine when you were describing that area you grew up, if you were to go out onto a playground at 12 at night, that probably wouldn't be the smartest thing to do to get shots up, no?
You know what? Like I said, my neighborhood was not riddled with violence and all that stuff at that time. I mean, definitely with situations, couldn't do certain things. But you know what? I came from a place where my dad was in the household. My dad was a police officer. My dad was a 6'5", big dude. And people saw my dad as that. So I had 2 sisters that grew up older than me. So people knew the type time my dad was on. He wasn't about any games. He wasn't about anything harming his family. So I really didn't have to go through too much. And then my sister, she ended up dating a boyfriend, another guy. He passed away, but he had a lot of respect in the neighborhood. And I went around wherever I wanted to go, you know. And at the end of the day, I played basketball. So I wasn't involved with, and any of the guys that were doing anything else, you know, they would redirect you. Yo, man, you don't need to be standing here on this corner. Or, yo, don't let your father see you with us. You know, so I had a good support system around me where I could go. But at the same time, the only way I could be out the house around 12 o'clock is if I was with John Arnett in the gym. I wasn't just going out. So that was my way of really taking to basketball. My curfew would be about 10 o'clock. But if I was playing basketball, I could go out and do whatever. And I always stayed true to that. I never took it and say, hey, Mom, Dad, I'm going to play basketball, but I'm hanging out with these guys. Once I'm out the house, I'm playing ball. So I had a really good support system. I had a great strategy.
Yeah.
And I had the means to get to where I needed to get to for those reasons.
Did you get to go to any free Major League Baseball games as a kid?
Man, all that I wanted to. I hated baseball. That was the only sport that my dad actually tried to push me toward, and I rejected it. I love football. Never pushed me to football. I love basketball. Never pushed me to that. The one time he would bring me bats, I would have all the fitted hats you wanted. I'd had gloves, and those things would sit there till who knows when, man, because I just didn't like baseball. So, but I could go to the All-Star games. I met a lot of people. My dad worked in baseball for maybe over 15 years. As soon as I got to Germantown Academy in 7th grade, I think that's when my dad took that job. So it was good, or maybe 2 years later, but yeah, but I didn't really enjoy baseball that much. So I pushed away with the tickets and all that stuff.
That's fair. That's fair. So Alvin, I have to ask, what are your thoughts on Halle Berry?
Man, you really did your homework. Hey, man. Hey, I'm going to shake. Watch this.
No, is that the photo?
You got it?
No, is that the photo?
This is the photo, man.
No way.
This is the photo.
Oh, my gosh.
Hey, I'll tell you a story, man. You wouldn't even believe this story. My sister got this. See, it's right on deck, too. Got it right on deck. Most beautiful woman. This photo right here.
Wow.
You can't really see it. That's 1990. People collect baseball cards. 1990 baseball all-star game. I think it was in Baltimore. The first baseball game I did not go to. I stayed home because I had a basketball game. And my sister took the picture, and I was pissed off. Took the picture. I was like, she was there. Like, she's like, make sure your brother gets this and make sure he keeps this forever. And I'm like, oh my God, man. But you know what I think about Halle Berry.
You had a special place where you kept that, right? Somewhere in your car?
Right in the front seat, buddy. Front seat belt on it. My friends, yo, get in the back. Get in the back. They thought I was joking. No, man, get in the back. I'm with my date right now. But no, it ended up becoming an all-time joke, but I'm not a creep right now.
No, of course not. Of course
it's
not.
It's the fact that this album was just here at this moment. That's all. I don't keep it next to me all the time.
So you showed me a photo. I have a photo to show you that I want to use to preface my next question.
Okay.
I know you've seen this before, but you, Cuttino, Mobley, Rasheed, Wallace, 3 of the OGs of Philadelphia basketball. One of the things that you all have in common is that you were Bulldogs on the court, which is something that's also present in current Philadelphia ballers like, you know, your boy Kyle Lowry. Can you elaborate more on that Bulldog mentality of the Philadelphia brand of basketball?
Oh, man. I mean, you see that picture right there. And it was my other buddy that went to Germantown Academy, Blair Hicks, who went to Colgate, played football. And the young buck that you saw in there, that was one of the most influential people at Germantown Academy, his dad, McVeigh. Another great family, man. The McVeighs are a great family, man. And they helped me a lot. But that mentality that you're talking about is, you see that picture. We're all on the court at the same time. Rasheed's the big dog. Cat was a killer. I wanted to compete. So we just always just made sure we butted heads. We always made sure we pushed each other to the limit. And it just developed. Like, that mentality developed. And those are just 3 people. There's so many other people that we were close to that we would push. We would go to Germantown Academy and all just play on Sunday mornings. And it'd be about 20, 25 of us.
Wow.
And you're looking at 20, 25 of us coming from the inner city, all parts of Philadelphia, South Philly, West Philly, North Philly, my side of Philly, and Fort Washington at that gym that we weren't allowed to be in with no supervision. So we had one coach that would open it up for us named Coach O'Connor, John O'Connor, and he would open that gym up and we would just get it in for hours until the headmaster or somebody from the school be like, hold on, this isn't right, man. So, but we had a lot of players that just, they pushed us, the John Arnett's, those Sonny Hills, those people, they pushed us so much just to compete. And we could be friends after, but during this time, We're going to try to kill each other and take each other's heads off.
Yeah, I noticed that with you three and even Kyle specifically. When I see you guys on the court, you want to run through a brick wall for your team.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that, that dog mentality. So was Cuttino Mobley the only guy you ever tried to recruit to Toronto?
Yeah, actually, it was timing. But I didn't really try to recruit him because, it's funny. I didn't know where I was going to be. Up until that point, I didn't have the best stint in Toronto. I didn't play. I played, whatever, and I wasn't playing as well as I would like to. But Coach Lenny Wilkins came in, and, during that time, he gave me so much confidence. We took Cat out to Cuttino. We took him out to dinner, and they called me in because they knew how close we were. So it was the recruiting thing. Mm-hmm. And we were eating dinner. So after dinner, and Cat and I at that time had the same agent. We go to the restaurant, we leave dinner, and Coach Wilkins pulled me to the side and was like, I just want you to know that one of the reasons I took this job was I wanted to be able to coach you. I love your game. So, being there for Cat and then, the coach pulling me to the side and really like, you know what, I wanted you here as well, not just to use you for us getting your friend. Because prior to that, I didn't feel much value in Toronto. Coach Wilkins really did that. But yeah, Cat, him and Steve Francis had a bigger bond. Yeah, so Cat sold me out too. But she sold me out. All these dudes. She was supposed to go to Villanova with me. He sold me out. I'm just starting to realize everything that my dad told me when I was young, it came to light at some moment of my life, man. I can't tell you what he told me either, but it relates to all those situations.
Yeah. So we have you, Cat, Rasheed, and Kyle. Who takes the final spot in your Philadelphia basketball starting five?
Oh, man. I don't even know if they're in my starting five, all of them, man.
Really, eh?
And we had some great players, man.
Mm-hmm.
Lionel Simmons, Aaron McKee is from Philly, Wilt Chamberlain.
Yep.
You got Pooh Richardson. It's so many guys. And people, depending on who you talk to, I'm going to give them Philadelphia credibility. The late Kobe Bryant.
Yes.
So there's a lot of players. Rasul Butler. There's a lot of great players come from there, but I'm going to have to go with the big dog, Wilt Chamberlain. No one can discredit that, so I'll go with Wilt Chamberlain.
All right. That's fair. At Villanova, you were supposed to be roommates with Bradley Cooper. Tell me why that ended up being a blessing in disguise.
Man, because, first of all, Brad only was there for 1 year. He transferred and went to Georgetown. How dare him? And I got a chance to meet my brother, man, Jason Lawson. Jason Lawson is another guy, highly recruited player, one of the best players to come out of Philly as well. He and Rasheed were the nemesis, each other's nemesis. They were the big guys in the city. They were probably 1 and 2 best players in the city at the time. But he decided to go to Georgia Tech at first, and then he decommitted and went to Villanova. And then when he went to Villanova, it was one of those things where our coach at the time, Coach Lapis, said, no, you only can roommate with someone on the team. Mm-hmm. And me and Jay, being both from Philly, we had history with each other. We really got to dive deeper into knowing each other. Like, Jay was always the guy coming up. Like, you see myself, Cat, and She together. We all knew each other, played video games, hang out, do things together. We didn't do that with Jay. Jay was kind of like off on his own. He was from a different section of Philly. And then me really getting a chance to know Jay is nothing. Like, Jay come over to the house now about 2 times a week. We work out in the morning. We do certain things, man. It was the blessing in disguise, man, because I really got to know Jason Lawson, right? Not the perception of Jay. It's a relationship that will never be broken.
That's awesome, man. It goes to show that even when you went off to Villanova, you still had that strong support network in terms of all the people you surrounded yourself with, which it's tough because for a lot of people, once they go off to school, it's kind of like that support network kind of goes away a bit.
That's one of the main reasons I chose Villanova, right? So I can still be close to home. A lot of schools, they stopped recruiting me going into my senior year because I guess they got word back that I wasn't going away. These recruiters and these scouts and these coaches, they do their homework. A lot of them called and was like, we're getting word that you're close to the family, and you're not going away from Philadelphia, which I've never said that to any of the schools, but they were right on point because I did not want to go away. My parents and sisters were always at all my games. My sister's husbands who were boyfriends at the time, they would come to the games. I had my family always there, and I want to continue that because that's what it was all about. It wasn't until I got into the NBA where none of those people could come to my games. All up until then, from rec center to high school to college, they were always there. So that was a big reason I stayed home in Philadelphia, because of the support system.
It's great that you're a big family man in that regard. So that's awesome. I'm going to pivot back to Bradley Cooper for a sec. Not just went to Villanova for that 1 year, but you also went to high school together, right?
Middle school as well.
Tell me about the time where he helped you with an exam or something like that.
Yeah, he cheated. Gave me all the answers during the exams. Like, no, Amazing. It was my seventh grade year, and we had an English exam. We were in English class together, and for some odd reason, my book bag ended up missing. So it's one of these schools, right? GA is a school where you can leave everything. I've never come from an environment like that. You put everything, you lock it away, you take it with you, whatever. So I just got really comfortable putting my bags down like everyone else. And when I come back, my bag is gone. It was probably a week or a couple of days maybe before my exam. So I didn't have a lot of the words. I didn't have a lot of the definitions for this particular section of the exam. And I was scared to tell the teachers. I was scared to really tell my parents that I lost my bag. I definitely couldn't tell my parents that I lost my bag or someone stole my bag. So I leaned on Brad to give me all the words, right? All the words and definitions. It was about 100 words. And he was sitting on the phone giving me every word and definition with no problem. And it got to a point where I was like, hey, Brad, do you think all of these words are going to be in an exam? He's like, no, only about 20. I said, well, give me about 2 more and hopefully we pick the right one. I can't. But he was that guy. That's why I know when he was in Wedding Crashers, that's why I knew he was one of the best actors, because he was an asshole. He's the farthest thing from that in real life. So that's my man. And he's a great dude, great family as well. I spent a lot of time with him when we were in GA together.
That's dope. Yeah, you're someone who truly loves the game of basketball. It doesn't matter where and what level, you just wanted a ball. Tell me about the revelation you had in your junior year and what Kerry Kittles had to do with it.
My junior year, Kerry Kittles. I've always wanted to play in the NBA, but it wasn't a reality for me. It wasn't something that, as a kid growing up, sports were an afterthought. It was a hobby. It was a pastime. Get your education. Have something to fall back on, because the NBA, it doesn't happen for people. And although Kerry and I were teammates, it wasn't until he got drafted and he came back to Villanova and was telling me NBA stories and telling me you can play in the NBA. And that's when it really took off for me. Like, oh, shucks, like I got an opportunity to play. Kerry Kittles telling me I could play in the NBA. He's one of the best players, if not the best player at the time that I've ever seen, is helping me out. So that was something that drove me. It was a motivating force for me to continue and maybe change my mindset about a reality of the NBA, and it really could come to light for me.
That's that moment where you realize I can make it to the league, Going back to what we were talking about, how, you grew up in Philadelphia your entire life. And then once you got drafted, that's when you finally had to move on. Tell me about that first flight to Portland after you got drafted.
Cried like a baby, dog. Cried like a baby, man. Remember having a breakfast, the happiest day. My sister had just got married the night before, and Jason Lawson was there with me at the wedding. And I remember he was going to Orlando, my roommate for 3 out of 4 years. He was going to Orlando and I was going to Portland. And I remember during the wedding, we were sitting there crying. My sister probably thought we were crying because of her. We were crying because we weren't going to see each other for a while. You couldn't go any further, right? To Vancouver and Portland. And he was going down south. So I remember having breakfast with my family and my girlfriend. We were all there and I was cool, but it was a somber moment. Everyone was kind of sad, but my sisters, they wrote me a note and I didn't open it. They took me to the airport and they wrote me a note. And when I got to the airport, I got on my flight, I opened up the note and I started reading it. And I think I was ready to cry anyway. And I just poured crying. The flight attendant was like, sir, are you okay? Is everything okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm all right. But it was something on my way to my dream. But, it was something where I was leaving my family for a little bit. And it was emotional.
And then literally halfway through the season, you got dealt to Toronto. As a rookie, you never expect to get dealt that quickly on in the season. What was that culture shock or culture shift for you when you were like, oh, shoot, I'm moving again?
As a rookie, you don't know much. Luckily, I played all 4 years in college, and I went through most every situation in college, man. I went through the ups and downs. I went through academics. I went through playing. I went through winning, losing. I went through legal. I went through a lot of things in those 4 years from the age of 18 to 22. Just getting traded was something where it's like, all right, but I'm still in the NBA, right? Yeah. Then, all right, I'm fine. And I don't take you to Siberia. I don't care as long as I'm in the NBA, man. So it was one of those situations where you think back, you start realizing and you recognize the business of it, right? So it was a situation where Portland, I was being told that I was going to be there. I wasn't going anywhere. Circumstances led to me being traded shortly after. But going to Toronto, not diving too far ahead, that was another moment of my life that changed my life for the better up until now. So no regrets at all.
You spent the majority of your career in Toronto. So I have to ask, is there any Canadian food you've had that rivals a Philly cheesesteak?
No. Nothing rivals it. And you know what's crazy? I don't think I had any Canadian food. Actually, is it poutine or
Poutine? Yeah, yeah.
I had that for the first time like 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
I was in Halifax and I had some and I was so hungry and I was like, let me try that, whatever. But the French fries and vinegar or mayo, stuff like that, I don't know, man. But nothing rivals the cheesesteak. The cheesesteak is probably the best, most unhealthy food that you can probably eat. And we used to eat those things like it was fruit or a salad. I used to eat that thing like it was nothing, man. I can't even eat them that much now because I know exactly what it does to you.
To keep the topic on food, what was the best meal that Charles Oakley ever cooked for you?
Whoo. You know what, man? He cooked everything. I do remember he had a good fried chicken. I don't know, man, because Oakley would have a spread. It wasn't a meal like, all right, steak, potatoes, and a veggie. It was steak, potatoes, shrimp, this over here, bread. Like, it was everything. You just pick at it. It's amazing, man, that, and then the other thing, he would invite everyone over. So he wouldn't just cook for me or 2 or 3 people. Mm-hmm. He would cook for 10, 12, 15 of us. And then I would say, Oak, I can't come over, man. 3 of my friends just visited from Philly. I got to stay. I'm going to take them. No, bring them as well.
Wow.
Like, it's amazing. He's the real deal. Like, real deal. You don't want to go out with him to a restaurant eat because he's going to probably make them take the food back about 3 or 4 times. That's how good he is, man, because he knows how his standards are.
Yeah.
So if you're a restaurant or if you're a cook and hopefully appreciate your food, you're on to something.
That's basically the equivalent of a Michelin star. Yeah.
Exactly.
So the one question that has been on my mind for the last couple of years, how did you get the nickname Boogie?
Man, my main man, Antonio Lang. I don't know if you remember that name, but he played at Duke. We were both at Toronto. We played in the summer leagues together. And Toronto brought Antonio Lang in. Same year, we brought Master P in. So Antonio Lang, we had a good relationship just from the summer league. And Antonio and I, we used to always play one-on-one. Neither one of us was playing that much. So we would play one-on-ones before and, after practice and all those type of things. One-on-one, that was my thing, right? I didn't play the same way I used to play in the games. I was very conservative. I was nervous a lot early on. I didn't want to really mess up, but I was very conservative. But when we played one-on-one, I would let loose. And then he used to just be like, hey, Boogie, you out there boogieing, like, behind the back and all that stuff. And Boogie was a common name, too. Like, you would call somebody Boogie. You would call somebody K Boogie. You would call somebody B Boogie. You would call somebody A Boogie. You would do a lot of those things. That was just something it was. And he gave it to me. And then in the locker room, they just start calling me that. And I don't know how it went from there.
In, current NBA, when people say Boogie, they think, DeMarcus Cousins. But anytime that got brought up, I'm like, you talking about Alvin Williams? It's like, what are you talking about? What?
Like, who the hell is Alvin Williams?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what? Yeah. DeMarcus Cousins, man.
I got Boogie. I don't know where DeMarcus Cousins got his name from, but I got mine from just playing basketball. Antonio Lang gave me that name.
I have another video here to show you that I want you to break down.
Slam. This one. You still want more. 5.5 to go.
Crowder for 3, leaves it a little short, right on line, and just shoot that shot, man. Let me get my triple-double on the rebound.
Williams did get the triple-double.
Yes.
11 points, 14 assists, and 10 rebounds.
Man, you just scored your first career triple-double. Why'd you look so sad?
I don't know. Maybe because it took so long because JYD kept grabbing all the rebounds.
So, yeah, that was the moment you got your first career triple-double. I noticed that during that play, when the Hawks player went up for the shot, I noticed the rest of your team's on the floor. They kind of backed off, and then they let you grab that board. And then when you got it, your teammates on the bench were like, yeah, they were like wilding out. Was that a moment of an example of the brotherhood that you guys had, enabling each other to thrive on and off the court?
Yeah, man, we had a good team. We had a really good team. Early on, we had a great foundation of veteran leaders. We had Charles Oakley. We had Del Curry, D. Brown, Muggsy Bogues, Doug Christie, Kevin Willis, Antonio Davis. So many people came through that as well. So we just developed something that was special. Even though we may not have won at the highest clip, Toronto was developing something. They were developing a culture that, I guess it was new, but yeah, our team was very close. We used to hang out, go to dinners. You mentioned Oakley. He would have us over his house. So it was a good situation. And we all were truly happy for people with other people's successes. So I guess that was one of those moments because that was a really good team for us as far as that chemistry and that camaraderie that we had.
Yeah, that team chemistry and camaraderie, it really reminds me of the current Raptors, how they're all such a close, tight-knit group. And that's what resulted in all the success, right? We were talking about earlier how Oak would invite you guys all over to dinner. What's another off-the-court example of that brotherhood you guys for each other, where it's like you all had your back off the court?
You know, it was a crazy dynamic because we had veteran guys. Some guys had families, so some guys didn't hang out. Some guys didn't live right down in the city. Some people lived in the suburbs. We had people that were single. We had people that were a little older. So we had a good mixture of players and their own agendas and their own way they carried themselves. But once we all got out, we would have dinners. We hung out. But everyone didn't hang out. You had certain pockets. I would hang out with Oakley, with Michael Stewart a lot. And then guess what? We would be blessed sometimes if Muggsy would come out or stuff like that. Vince was just too popular, right? So he couldn't come out a lot of times once he got to a certain level, but he would pick and choose certain times. And then I can't pinpoint one particular moment. Sure, if somebody brought it to me, I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember that. But I can't pinpoint one particular moment because we did have a close unit.
You're talking about Vince just then. He didn't really get to come out as much once he started getting popular. Tell me about the time you almost got jumped by the triads in Toronto.
I don't even know if that was politically correct. I don't know. I've heard they're triads or whatever, but it was a situation in Vince's club that I want to say, and this is, I'm getting all it. It was a foggy night. Might have been too many drinks going on, but I just remember the guys trying to get into a section and Vince denying them. After that, I don't remember anything else happening, but I remember Vince and I had the same car at the same time. I was just sitting in a parking lot, I think waiting for somebody to get street meat and get back in the car. I think I was with my man Milt Palacio at the time. I think it was Milt. I can't remember. It was so long ago. And these guys came up around my car thinking I was Vince. And they were like, yo, where's Vince? And then I was like, why you want to know? And then they were pretty much like, never mind. But you can tell the way they came up to my car. They didn't come up to my car just to say hi. They came to the car like confrontational. Like I said, I don't want, like, nothing transpired after that. Everybody went their own way. But it was just funny because it was just one of these things. I see these two little dudes just coming up to my car, but then come to find out this serious business. So I was just like, all right, let me keep this one moving. But it was all good after that.
That's awesome. Obviously, it's known that you have a very close brotherhood with Kyle Lowry. Both Philadelphia guys, both went to Nova, both running that Raptors backcourt. What's the best Kyle Lowry story that you have?
The best one? Oh, man. I don't know. I remember not the first time meeting him, but around the first time, he tore his ACL freshman year, the summer going into his freshman year. And I remember walking into the gym. He was in a gym by himself shooting around. Like, I guess it may have been in September. I think he may have tore it in August, and he was shooting by himself. And I'm like, this guy, like, they say he had tore ACL. Maybe they're lying. So I asked him, I was like, yo, did you tear your ACL? He's like, yeah. I was like, damn, you're healed already? And he was like, no, I haven't had surgery yet. They're waiting for the surgery. And the time frame could be, but I just remember watching him shoot in the gym by himself with a torn ACL. And then that same year, he came back and played and helped lead Villanova to like the Elite Eight or Sweet 16 or something like that. And they say the reason why he came back is after his surgery, he wasn't doing a proper rehab. And he was being such a nuisance at practice. The coach Jay Wright just was like, man, just get out there and just go play. And he ended up playing. He was okay to play. So he's like one of those freaks, man. He's like one of those dudes, man, that's always been like one of those guys that was hard-headed, but so stubborn that led to a success. So that's one of the stories that I can remember. But, you know, mostly, man, just his development, like his transition and who he is. Like, we sit in the backyard now and just talk about our kids. We rarely talk basketball, talk about life. Nice. Our kids fishing, you know, before he left for the bubble. We do things like that now. And I'm like, that kid that was 19, 18 years old that I first first ran into this kid that we're still talking and developing and evolving, it's a great thing.
That's awesome, man. You guys were talking about a lot of like off-season stuff, like going fishing and all that stuff. So I have one more photo to show you.
One more, man. I like these photos, man. I don't know where you get them from. I thought you might have stole my Halle Berry photo. That's why I had to check my book.
So when you're spending time in the off-season or even in your post-basketball career, you spend a lot of time doing different activities. So I have to ask, what's better? What's better, your golf skills or your curling skills?
Whoa, they might be neck and neck because I'm hard for both of them. That day I fell so hard. I remember falling so hard trying to keep my balance. I think I had one too many beers too, but that was a good time. That was my first time ever curling. Regina, I was there. Regina, how you say it?
Regina? Yeah, Regina.
I'm always a little skeptical when I said that, but I had a good time there. It was a good time.
I was looking at this photo. I'm like, this man's concentration, he's probably killing this right now. He looks locked in.
Looks are deceiving, brother. Looks like I was not killing it.
When you started doing commentary for the Raptors on Sportsnet, my first thoughts were, damn, look at this man's fit. And then from then on, you kept coming correct with your suit game. So I have to ask, Alvin, where did you learn how to dress so well?
Man, I don't know, man. I always felt like I had an eye for fashion and I knew what I liked. Never too much out of the box. And I bumped into somebody who started making some of my suits, man. So we started putting things together and that's where it came. But I always had like an idea for what I liked.
Yeah, because literally anytime you go on the interview, I'm always like, yo, Alvin Williams can dress, bro. Like, shit, he always got the suits on. But damn.
Thank you, man.
So you started the Academy of Hoops in 2012. You did it for the kids with the goal of helping them become a complete person on and off the court. One of the best parts of the Academy of Hoops is how you teach kids that there's opportunities off the court within the basketball industry. For the kids out there with dreams of playing in the NBA, why is learning about these opportunities important to them?
I think it just gives you it allows you to grow even more and you're not just pigeonholed to one direction. If you have to pivot, you have the ability to pivot, you get the information, you have the understanding, and you have the mindset to understand that there's more out there. You know, growing up, like you had an understanding of certain things, but like I said, the NBA for me wasn't a reality. If somebody was to tell me I could be a basketball coach or a general manager or possibly an owner or brand development, anything like that, then I probably would look at the sport totally different. And I would give myself more opportunities from studying, from classes I took in school, so things like that. So I think it's really important. The more information you get and the more opportunities that you see out there, it'll definitely help with your overall development.
It's good to be well-rounded in terms of, if you really love basketball, you should try all of the other things. That if you're more of like a creative or you're more of a numbers person, there's so many opportunities that you could thrive in. One of those off the court opportunities for you is like the business of basketball. You know, one of the initiatives you're working on is a management firm providing young professional basketball players with a roadmap of how to navigate the NBA lifestyle. So talk to me more about that.
Instead of telling a kid, if they say they want to make it to the NBA, instead of telling a kid that, no, you can't make it to the NBA or there's one a 0.00000 millionth % chance that you'll make it and just discouraging someone, you give them, all right, this is what you want to do. All right, I'm going to help you create that roadmap. I'm going to help you crystallize the roadmap. And we're going to pursue it. I'm going to pursue it not just with information. I'm going to give you resources. I'm going to give you the skill training. I'm going to give you all of those things and just provide you that roadmap for your journey. And it's just like anyone. If you bumped into a 12-year-old and they said they want to be a neurologist, you would be impressed. And then you will help them attain that goal by telling them what schools may be the best schools, classes they would have to take, things they would have to know. And I don't think it's anything different from an athlete because ultimately, as an athlete, even if you do not become a pro athlete or whatever the case may be, you're still going to gain so many life skills, so much knowledge, so many things that's going to help you in life in general. So I think it's a perfect platform to do this. And while I'm still healthy enough and mobile enough to give all my energy to this, I think it's a great time.
One of the things that I love most about what you're doing here, people often forget basketball is a game. At the end of the day, it's the lessons you learned from playing basketball and all the different life lessons that it brings. That's what's the most value when it comes to everything that you do for the rest of your life. You only play professional basketball for a small window of time. You have to think about all the rest of the time after that, right?
Yeah. When you're playing basketball and when you're getting into this world of sports or whatever, you hear your sayings, use the sport, don't let the sport use you. And it's this and that. And when the air bounces out the ball or leaves the ball, then what? You hear all of these things, but none of those things are ever explained to you, right? It's not explained, the severity of it, the understanding, the reality reality. Those things aren't explained to you. And as a youngster, you always think things pretty much don't pertain to you. Like you got to wait until it smacks you in your face. Like, oh shit, I can get smacked. So it's like one of those things, but just providing the information, providing the resources, putting people around people that'll be able to transfer that message as well. So 100% right.
In your post-basketball career, you've kind of been a renaissance man in the sense of you did some scouting, you did some play-by-play commentary, working in finance, working on the management side. Out of all of these different hats that you've put on, which is the one that you find the personally most fulfilling?
I'm a teacher, man. I think I'm a teacher. I'm someone that I feel like that's my passion, right? Even when I was doing stuff in the front office and stuff, I always wanted to engage players and give them information that could help them. Even in the financial world, I'm not your money manager. I'm not showing you how to allocate your funds, or I'm not setting up your portfolio, but I am going to tell you decisions that you can make that can help you long-term and short-term. I'm going to tell you decisions. I'm going to put you around people that can speak to that story as well. So I'm coming from a whole different angle, from a wellness side. I want to talk to you about your mental approach. Like you just got signed a $10 million contract. Like everybody look at Patrick Mahomes now. Like signed a 10-year deal for possibly $500 million, right?
Yeah.
But no one knows the mental stress that man's going to go through that day he signed that, right? So of course, those are the elements that no one really takes into account, even though it's being talked about more and more. But I want to make sure it's just not being talked about. It's really understood, because athletes, they go through it throughout their career, but they really go through it post-career.
Yeah.
So developing that transition, developing that platform where these people can still feel valued, still have impact on society. I want to be in the forefront or be part of something that can help them get through that part of life.
Yeah, man, it's super great that you're doing these initiatives that you're doing, because like you said, there's not a lot of professional athletes post-career that are doing things like that. And it's always good to have that knowledge and pass it down to the younger ones so they don't make mistakes that will mess up their post-playing career.
And, you know, we all make mistakes, right? But the biggest thing is to learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
Like when you're in the financial side, you might have made a mistake to make an investment, but make sure your next investment, don't get gun shy, but you're equipped with information, right? And not winning the next investment, but you're learning through the whole time. You're learning, and you're learning from your mistakes. And that's the biggest thing, because we're not perfect. We're all going to make
we're all human. Yeah.
Continue. But now just providing the information that can help people to go into different scenarios and situations, educational.
One of the things that you and I have in common is that's the relationship we have with our parents. That's one of the things I respect the most about you. My parents put me through school and worked tirelessly to provide me with the best life possible. And your parents similarly did the same for you, putting you in the private school and setting you up on that course to be the successful person that you are now. Now you're doing what I strive to do one day, and that's to be the one to take care of your parents now. Your parents told you, you'll never know how much we love you until you have your own. What are the lessons you've learned as a son that you're now teaching your own children as a father?
Man, same things, same type of things, the discipline, respect, all of those things that I was taught. But the thing about it is you reflect back and it came to light, came to fruition, like the littlest things you're worried about. You want to check on your kids. You want to check on certain things. You want to be there, but you don't want to do too much because you still want to equip them for certain scenarios and certain situations. So my parents did a heck of a job raising me to be the person that I am, to hopefully I can transfer that energy into my own family and things like that. So my dad used to always tell me also, I always want to give you more than I ever had, right? And I want to be a better father to you than mine was to me. And I want you to do the same for yours. So is that legacy, is that information being passed down that I'm blessed to have, and I'm blessed to still have my parents around so my family can enjoy it.
That's incredible, man. You don't see people who are that tight-knit with their family so much. So I respect that about you very much. So
Thank you.
So I'm going to close it off with one last question. The Academy of Hoops has recently launched Virtual Vitamins, a video series of basketball drills you can do anywhere, anytime to improve your game. What's Alvin Williams' most important virtual vitamin for life?
Man, that's a good one right there, for life, huh?
Yeah.
It's so, you know what, life has so many elements to it, but I think when you're at a place where you can be true to yourself, and whatever that is for you, whatever your truth is, I think you exercise it to the fullest. That's what it is. You know, a lot of times we go through situations, and I'm the old head now, but go through situations where you try to play keep up. You compare yourself to other people. You think you're supposed to be somewhere in life because you're comparing to yourself to other people and all those type of things. But I think once you find your truth and you find what's inside of you that you want the world to see, or you want to see yourself, you got to tap into that thing and you got to go 100%. You got to go 100% at it and not worry about what the backlash is or not worry about what people are saying. But once again, I think finding your truth, your one and only truth, and you explore that and then you just execute it to the fullest.
And I think that's the absolute best way to end off this podcast. Alvin, thank you so much for hopping on the show. It's been a pleasure talking to one of my childhood idols when it comes to basketball and one of the reasons why basketball is so important in my life. So thank you for coming on the show. If you guys want some more virtual vitamins, hit up the Academy of Hoops on Instagram.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate you reaching out to me. I'm glad we connected, man. Anyway, I could be supportive, whatever. Don't hesitate. Doesn't have to be a one-stop shop. So.
Wow. Thank you.
You can reach out anytime, bro.
Hey, next time you're in Toronto, I need that jersey over there. I need a nice little signature on that.
Got you, man. I got you. As soon as all this is over with and I get back to my second home, then I'll be right there.
We'll get you a poutine too.
All right.